Hey folks, Mike Rowe here, and welcome to a compilation that'll make your stomach drop faster than a misloaded crane. We're about to dive into a world where tons of steel dance on the edge of disaster, where a moment's mistake can mean the difference between a job done right and a catastrophe caught on camera. Buckle up, because we're about to witness some of the most dramatic, jaw-dropping crane fails ever recorded. These machines are powerful, unforgiving beasts, and they demand respect. So, whether you're a seasoned operator or just someone who appreciates a good train wreck, and let's face it, who doesn't? Get ready to witness the heart-stopping consequences of what happens when things go wrong in the world of heavy machinery. You know, they say pride comes before a fall. Well, in the crane world, it's usually an extra ton or two that comes before the fall, and believe me, when these things go down, they go down hard. Take a look at this operator. He's pushing his crane to the limit, trying to lift a load that's clearly beyond its capacity. You can almost hear the machine groaning under the strain, and there it goes. The whole thing starts to tip, slow at first, like a giant teetering on a tightrope. But gravity's a cruel mistress, folks, and she always collects. The look on the operator's face is priceless. Luckily, nobody got hurt this time, but it's a stark reminder that even the biggest, baddest machines have their limits. This next clip is a tough one to watch, folks. We're talking about a construction project that went from bad to worse in the blink of an eye. It all starts innocently enough. Workers going about their business, a crane lifting materials, the usual symphony of construction noise, but then, disaster strikes. The crane, for reasons we'll soon discover, just gives way, collapses in on itself like a house of cards. Metal twists and groans, dust fills the air, and the ground shakes with the force of the impact. Turns out a critical safety check was overlooked. Maybe a faulty weld, maybe a structural weakness. Whatever the cause, the consequences are devastating. This is a stark reminder that in this line of work, there's no room for shortcuts. They say precision is key in any profession, but when you're operating a crane, especially in a tight space, precision isn't just key, it's the whole damn key ring. This next clip shows what happens when that precision goes out the window. We've got a crane operator, probably new on the job, trying to maneuver a load into a tight spot. Now, I'm no expert, but even I can see this isn't going to end well. He's got about an inch of clearance on either side, and he's sweating bullets up there in the cab. And then, BAM! He clips the building. The good news is, nobody was hurt. The bad news? Somebody's got some explaining to do, and I'm guessing his next job won't involve operating heavy machinery. You know, gravity, it's not just a good idea, it's the law. And in the world of cranes, ignoring the law of gravity is a surefire way to create a whole lot of chaos. This next clip is a perfect example. We've got a crane, all rigged up and ready to move a heavy load. The problem? Somebody forgot to tell the load about the importance of staying put. As the crane starts to lift, you can see the load swaying. Not a good sign. The operator tries to compensate, but it's too late. The load breaks free, and it's all downhill from there. Tons of steel plummet to the ground with a sickening thud. The takeaway here is simple. Secure your load, folks. Because when gravity takes over, there's no hitting the brakes. You ever have one of those days where everything just seems to go wrong? Well, imagine having that day while you're operating a multi-ton crane. That's what happened to this poor sap in our next clip. He's just going about his business, lifting and lowering, when suddenly his crane decides to go rogue. The arm starts spinning like something out of a carnival ride, completely out of control. The operator's trapped up there, helpless, as the crane wreaks havoc on everything in its path. Turns out a critical piece of equipment malfunctioned. Maybe a hydraulic line burst, maybe a sensor went on the fritz. Regular maintenance, folks. It's not just a suggestion, it's your best defense against a mechanical meltdown. Now, I've always said that experience is the best teacher. But in the world of heavy machinery, experience can also be a real pain in the neck, especially when it's someone else's lack of experience that's causing the problem. This next clip is a perfect example of what happens when you put an inexperienced operator behind the controls of a crane. It's like giving a teenager the keys to a Ferrari and telling them to go nuts. This operator, bless his heart, is in way over his head. He's got the crane moving every which way but loose, and it's clear he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. He almost drops a load on a group of workers, sideswipes a building, and generally manages to turn a routine operation into a circus act. The only thing missing is the calliope music. The lesson here: operating heavy machinery is a serious business. It takes training, skill, and a whole lot of practice. You know, they say a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Well, the same goes for cranes. And in this next clip, we're about to witness a catastrophic failure of a critical link. We've got a crane all rigged up and ready to lift a massive load. The operator's easing the tension on the cable, the boom is starting to rise, and then, snap! The boom, unable to handle the strain, buckles like a twig. It folds in on itself with a sickening crunch, sending shockwaves through the entire job site. The operator, lucky to be alive, is left staring in disbelief at the wreckage. Turns out the boom had a hidden flaw. Maybe a hairline crack, maybe metal fatigue. Whatever the cause, the result is the same. A catastrophic failure that could have easily cost lives. This is a stark reminder that regular inspections are crucial. Because when it comes to heavy machinery, even the smallest flaw can have the biggest consequences. They say 2 heads are better than 1, but when it comes to operating cranes in close proximity, 2 heads can also mean double the trouble. This next clip is a prime example of what happens when coordination and communication break down on a construction site. We've got 2 cranes both operating in a tight space, and it's clear from the get-go that someone's not on the same page. The operators are yelling at each other, hand signals are flying everywhere, but it's too late. The 2 cranes collide in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. One of the cranes is knocked off its tracks, the other one is left swaying precariously. Coordination and communication are essential, especially when you're dealing with heavy machinery. Because when 2 cranes collide, it's not just metal that gets mangled, it's lives. You know, they say location is everything, and in the world of cranes, a solid foundation is just as important as a skilled operator. Unfortunately, in this next clip, it seems like someone forgot to check the ground before they set up shop. We've got a crane, all rigged up and ready to go, but there's just one problem. It's parked on ground that's about as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. As the crane starts to lift its load, the ground beneath it begins to give way. Slowly at first, then faster and faster until the entire crane is sinking like a stone in a pond. The operator, trapped in the cab, can only watch in horror as the ground swallows his machine whole. The lesson here is simple. Always, and I mean always, assess the ground conditions before you set up a crane. You know, folks, sometimes a single mistake can set off a chain reaction that's almost impossible to stop. It's like a line of dominoes, one falling after another, until the whole thing comes crashing down. And in this final clip, we're about to witness a chain reaction of epic proportions. It all starts with a crane, innocently enough, moving a load of steel beams. But then, something goes wrong. Maybe the operator misjudged the weight, maybe a cable snapped, but whatever the cause, the load comes crashing down, setting off a chain reaction of destruction that has to be seen to be believed. The falling beams take out another crane, which in turn topples onto a nearby building, sending a cascade of debris raining down on everything below. It's a symphony of chaos, a ballet of destruction, and a stark reminder that even the smallest mistake can have monumental consequences. The lesson here is simple. Be vigilant, because in this line of work, you never know when a single mistake might set off a chain reaction that you can't control. Well folks, there you have it. A compilation of crane fails that's enough to make even the most seasoned operator think twice about their next lift. But remember, these clips aren't just about the spectacle of destruction. They're a stark reminder of the importance of safety in a profession where the stakes are incredibly high. So, the next time you see a crane, take a moment to appreciate the skill and precision required to operate these massive machines. And if you're ever on a job site yourself, remember the lessons we've learned today. Safety first, safety always. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more eye-opening compilations.